Good day, class. My name is Charity and I'm your mathematics tutor. In today's tutorial, I will be taking you on this topic, special angles, that is angle 0 degree and 90 degree. You can check our previous channel where we discussed about the trigonometric ratio, that is the special angles of 30 degrees, 60 degrees and 45 degrees. So today we are going to discuss about the ratio of 0 and 90 degree. We're going to see how simple it is. Now first, we want to take the first ratio, which is what? The ratio of 0 degree. Now we are to consider a hypothetical triangle. This hypothetical triangle is a type of triangle that is being imagined. That is something you have in your thoughts. It's not something that is somehow physical anywhere, because let's just put it this way, that hypothetical triangle is a type of triangle that do changes. So we are to consider this hypothetical triangle in trying to get the ratio of 0 and 90 degree. Now the first one you do is we are taking theta. Remember, we say hypothetical triangle is the one we do imagine, or the one we use in illustration, or the one that do changes. Now, take for example, you know that wherever the angle is facing is our opposite, and wherever the right angle is facing is our hypotenuse, and the remaining side is what? The adjacent. Now, we are to consider 0 degree. And we say that this is a hypothetical triangle. If this is a hypothetical triangle, when theta is approaching 0, of course, if I say that theta is 0 degree, it looks somehow. But when theta is about to approach 0 degree, now look at what I'm doing with this ruler now. That this hypotenuse is trying to approach 0 degree. Trying to approach 0 degree, that means we are not going to have anything like theta here. Now, trying to approach 0 degree, it is coming down. And as this thing is trying to move here, you find out that this opposite here is gone. That is, opposite is now 0. And the hypotenuse is becoming the adjacent. Therefore, we now say sine 0 degree. You know sine is opposite over hypotenuse. You know that. Now, 0 degree is now opposite of a hypotenuse. But remember, when we did this thing were being pushed down and our opposite is gone. So opposite is now 0 and the hypotenuse is the hypotenuse. Of course, 0 over any number is still 0. So we say that our sine 0 degree is equals to 0. Now let's take the second one, which is cosine. That is, when we say cos 0 degree, of course, you know cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. So this is adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, this adjacent over hypotenuse, when this is going down, of course, opposite is gone, then hypotenuse is becoming the adjacent. Therefore, you can decide to call the adjacent the hypotenuse, or the hypotenuse to become the adjacent. So if I decide to take any one, I can say hypotenuse plus hypotenuse. Of course, when this cancel this, we are having what? 1. So cos 0 degree is giving us what? 1. Now let's take the tangent, the tan 0 degree. Now to get the tan of 0 degree, we use the formula I gave you previously. We say that cos 0 degree is equals to sine 0 degree over cos 0 degree. Now what is our sine 0 degree here? You want to see that tan 0 degree is equals sine 0 degree is 0. We have 0 here. Then cos is what? Over 1, which is at the same thing as saying that tan 0 degree is equals to what? 0, sorry. So tan 0 degree is giving us what? 0. Now let's move to the second one, which is the ratio of 90 degree. That's the next one we'll be doing. the ratio of 90 degree. Now we are still considering this hypothetical triangle. So we are trying to make this theta to approach 90. Can you see that this theta is trying to approach 90? Reason being that the reason why we are using this triangle is because there is no way that, you know, that some of the interior angle of a triangle is giving us 180. And if I'm to say that here should be 90 degrees somehow, what about this place? And you know in triangle it has straight angles, so it's not going to be possible. We're using an imagined triangle. That is, now look at this. When this theta is trying to approach 90 degree, you see it? This is where our 90 degree is. And this theta, consider this is now, use this my ruler as if it is your hypotenuse. Now this my hypotenuse is trying to approach this 90 degree. Can you see it now? What do you see happening? You find out that the adjacent is gone and the hypotenuse is becoming the opposite. Let me do it again so you understand this very well. Now, look at this. You see it now? This is the hypotenuse going now, going towards the opposite. Now the adjacent is gone. Now you tell them that sine 90 degree. Of course, you know that sine 90 or sine theta or sine of any angle is opposite over hypotenuse. But here, the opposite is becoming the hypotenuse. Or you say the hypotenuse is becoming the what? Opposite, which means they are equal. So I can decide to say that opposite is hypotenuse. When it is equal to hypotenuse, I can decide to use any of them. Then what I'm having is sine 90 degree is equal to what? Opposite over opposite. Or you can decide to say hypotenuse over hypotenuse. Anywhere you go, you know, this will cancel this. We are having 1. So sine 90 degree is giving us 1. Then the next one we are to consider is cos 90 degree. So cos 90 degree, remember, when we are to move this, you see it now, theta trying to approach 90. You see that the adjacent is becoming what? 0. You see it now? And hypotenuse is becoming opposite. So what we have is opposite, cos 90 is our adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, remember, adjacent is 0 because it's gone. So adjacent is 0 over what? Hypotenuse. Of course, 0 over anything is equals to what? 0. So cos 90 is giving us equals to 0. Now, for us to get the tangent of 90 degree, you now tell them that tan 90 degree is equals to sine 90 degree. This is a very good formula that we've been using since. All over what? Cos 90 degree. What is sine 90 degree? We solved it out. Sine 90 degree is giving us 1. So this is tan 90 degree is equals to what? 1. Then the next one is what is cos 90 degree? Cos 90 degree is over what? 0. So tan 90 degree is giving us 1 over 0, which is undefined. This is undefined. Or you can use this symbol like this. So this simply means what? Undefined, because there is no mathematical identity for tan 90 degree. Thank you so much.